Yo guys, what's going on? It's Dcroft here again, back with Week 15. Huge matchup for the Seahawks against the Rams. This is kind of our last chance to make any type of a playoff push. If we do end up finishing the season at 9-8, there's an outside chance that we can end up making the playoffs, which would be just super cool, and being able to keep that winning record every single year under Russ would be something super nice to be able to stay with us for the rest of the season. But the Rams, coming off a big win against the Cardinals, probably to some people, honestly, an upset, especially with the amount of players that they did have out because of COVID, too. Now, with that being said, if you guys do like this content, make sure you guys do like and subscribe. And let me know what you guys think our record is going to be at the end of the year. For me personally, with us having to play the Rams and the Cardinals, I would be kind of surprised that if we were able to win both of those games personally. But I do think that, the Bears and the Lions, I think they're going to be two easy games for us. I just think when you look at the Rams and the Cardinals, both are just such good teams in terms of how they played throughout the entirety of the year. I think they're both winnable games for us, but I think we will have to be playing at our best to be able to win both of those games. But with that being said, I am bringing on Fancy. For those of you that know the Madden scene, you guys have probably heard about Fancy a lot. Fancy is the Cowboys Club champion last year. He made a Final Four run in that, and he's just been a super consistent player, really over his entire time playing Madden since he started seriously playing in Madden 20. Madden 20 for Fancy, I think, was more of a how do I describe it? Definitely for his standards, he probably wish he had a little bit more in Madden 20, but he was putting together some crazy runs in smaller tournaments, some butthead tournaments. And then Madden 21, that's when he was really, able to start pick up and start going in those big pro tournaments, and then has had a ton of success this year here too. Fancy, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. I'm excited for this little divisional matchup right here, Big game for the Seahawks, I think. And obviously they don't have the easiest schedule. They don't have the toughest schedule, and they really need to win these two divisional games to have a shot at the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I
Baker.
100% agree with you. I think when you look at the earlier matchups throughout that we had earlier in the year, we played every single one of the divisional opponents fairly well. The Rams game came down. Well, that's actually the game Russ ended up getting hurt in. That game came down to the final drive. The Cardinals, that game was probably one of the games that got away from us a little bit. But it is still, I think, an overall, every division game that we've played this year has been super competitive. Obviously, sweeping the 49ers, too. But yeah, no, super excited for this upcoming divisional matchup that we have going on.
That's the thing about these divisional games, though. It's what they say in the NFL. Every divisional game is it's never a easy win,
Mhm.
no matter who you're playing. So it's a good shot or a good chance for the Seahawks to maybe make a run.
Yeah, and with that being said, too, you actually just targeted one of the players that I think has probably had, arguably one of the best seasons in the entirety of the NFL in Cooper Cup. As a, just a fan of football, what have you thought of Cooper Cup's season this year? Do you think he has any chance to break Calvin's record?
Um, Honestly, he might have a shot, just
Mhm.
because the increase of games from 16 to 17, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be pretty close, I think.
Yeah,
But he's definitely killing it.
I think with 4 games left, he has to average, I want to say around 600 yards, if I'm not mistaken, is what he does have to end up averaging to be able to, or excuse me, 600 yards for the rest of the year. So what was that? Probably a little over 120 per game for him to get there. Actually, more than that. It would be around 150. My math was a little bit off there. But yeah, definitely will be interesting, I think, to see if he is able to get there. I think that honestly, he probably won't end up being able to get there because I think when you look at Cup and what he's been able to do this year, it's just a lot of consistent numbers in terms of he is gonna catch 8 to 12 passes a game, but he isn't really gonna, I think, explode in any game. He's gonna have that 90 to 150 yards per game, somewhere in that range, but never have that huge 200-yard game or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's also with Cooper Cup, there's only so much you can do just playing primarily from the slot, to where it's hard to have that big 200-yard game,
Mhm.
to where he's gonna have a shot to break the record.
Yeah,
So we'll
exactly.
see.
The way like Cup is used to, he's not really used as how Calvin Johnson broke the record in terms of like a one-on-one threat downfield throughout the entire game. That's really not how like Cup has been used from the Rams and under Sean McVay. You know, he's honestly kind of like really just their slot receiver, and he actually does like a lot of the dirty work in terms of run blocking too, in terms of being like in like the line of scrimmage, being able to help like get those blocks too. Okay, so the first thing I'm looking at right here too, Aaron Donald. I personally think, and I will actually stand by this, I will always think Aaron Donald is the best defensive player within the NFL. I think when you look at this season, you know, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett obviously have been like both really, really good. But I just always think that regardless of the numbers, I just think Aaron Donald is like consistently the most dominant defender on the field.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been watching the NFL. Like, I've been watching the NFL since probably like 2007.
Mm-hmm.
But Aaron Donald is the best defensive player that I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people will say like Lawrence Taylor and stuff like that, but Aaron Donald is really, really good.
Yeah. I thought we had that right there for Rush. Interception right there by me. Slow start. I mean, I thought we were going to be able to fit that one in there. Just wasn't able to. No, but yeah, no. I would actually agree. I haven't really been watching the fancy as sorry. I haven't been watching football as long as fancy has been. But I would agree that for me personally, in terms of being able to watch Aaron Donald, you know, twice a year for a full game, just being that Seahawks fan, I would definitely say that there probably isn't a better player in the NFL on the defensive line than him that I've ever personally seen.
Yeah, in terms of like just like dominance, like you can just watch like you watch any Rams game and you can just see him like literally just take over the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just unreal what he does like every single week.
Yeah,
You gotta double team up like and sometimes a double team doesn't even matter. He'll just get so much pressure on the quarterback.
really good pocket right there from Fancy being able to step up and be able to make a read right there. But I agree with you, and I think even looking back at just that Cardinals game they did just play here, that Kyler Murray first interception that he had on the red zone really just was all created from Aaron Donald getting like an insta shed and being able to like disrupt the pocket.
Stafford can cook up a dot right here in the red zone.
Oh,
Oh, that was close.
I thought Sidney Jones actually was gonna have a chance to make it right
Yeah,
there.
he almost went crazy.
Puna Ford in the middle of the field trying to get a shot there too. Yeah, I thought Sidney Jones was actually going to be able to make a play there. You know, there's this ability in Madden, and it's called Acrobat. For anybody that has played Madden and has seen what Acrobat does, it essentially allows your defenders to be able to get diving picks. And then in a situation like that, that's where Acrobat would just be super, super helpful in terms of being able to make a play on that pass. Because a lot of these zones in this year's Madden just aren't that good. You know, wheel routes in this Madden are just like a super good route concept to be able to use. And what you really want to be able to do is have that acrobat ability so you just have that chance of it being played. All right, let's see if we can have a little bit better of a drive right here. We're just going to take an easy check down to DK right here. Able to pick up a first down right there. And Fancy, what do you think of DK over the past couple of weeks? You know, probably like slowed down a little bit. Isn't really getting like the amount of targets that that he probably thinks he should be getting. Do you think that this week against Jalen Ramsey that like a ton of that is going to change?
I mean, Ramsey's definitely a tough matchup. I've definitely every time I feel like the Rams and the Seahawks play, they're definitely like going to battle every
Mm-hmm.
single time. So it's gonna be definitely a matchup to watch. But what I have seen the past few weeks, I've seen the Seahawks go to Lockett really a lot
Mm-hmm.
more than DK Metcalf. So just depends on their game plan, what they want to do on offense.
I tried to go to DK right there and take a deep shot to him. We did end up getting sacked right there, though. But yeah, ever since Russ has come back, honestly, Lockett has kind of been that go-to receiver a lot more than DK has been over the past couple of weeks. Kind of interesting, honestly, just seeing something like that. Ooh, Russ make a play. we're just gonna have to throw that one right there. Fancy is playing really good defense right now against me. Will say I'm a little bit rusty on Madden. I think Fancy can speak on this too. I think it has been I'd say probably about a week for us since we've actually last played Madden. For anybody that has been wondering, I've actually, and Fancy, we've been competing in the last Madden tournament of the year. Essentially, really the last chance, that we will have to be able. Oh, his Fancy almost gets to click on right there. He actually does get it, but ends up clicking off right there, allowing me to get the first. But we were competing in the last, major tournament of the year for us in terms of being able to get automatic qualification into the $1 million tournament. Now, for me, I was super close in terms of being able to get qualification in that tournament. I ended up just kind of having a bad couple of first tournaments that put me in a position where I had to have a really good tournament. I ended up finishing, I think it was 12th in this tournament, 7th.
Top 16. Top 16.
It was top 16 that I ended up finishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I ended up finishing top 16, and if I had won my next 2 games and finished top 4, I basically would have been like a lock for that tournament. And then Fancy had a couple really good tournaments, and this last tournament probably hoped that he was able to get a little bit more out of this last tournament than he did, but he's still in a position where he can get qualification for that last tournament. He just kind of has to, wait to see some of the other results and just what ends up happening. Super hopeful that he is able to get into that spot because this is the biggest tournament Madden has ever had at $1 million. So him being able to get it, just being like a friend of his for so long, definitely would be super like nice to have him in the tournament.
Yeah, definitely need a couple things to go my way for sure, but we'll see. I mean, if not, then have the last chance qualifier. So the season's not over at all.
Yeah, 100%. So what Fancy's talking about with that last chance qualifier too, there's essentially one final way that people can get into this last tournament. And essentially that is just a single limb tournament of 32 people, and one person's going to make it out and be able to make the final tournament of the year. Now I actually have one LCQ. Ooh, I thought that was man right there.
Oh, that's Darius.
Man, we got a little bit too aggressive right there trying to go for the touchdown. Fancy gets a big red zone stop right there. But there's essentially one more tournament that can essentially allow Fancy to be able to gain qualification, and myself qualification, if Fancy doesn't end up getting that automatic qualification from this last tournament. But yeah, so honestly, Fancy, I've actually kind of forgot when you came out. We've been talking in Madden. I think we were probably one of the you were probably one of the first people I ever met in Madden. What was kind of, honestly, because I'm curious, because I don't even know the answer to this. You guys see Cooper Kupp right there. You got a huge game. Fancy might be able to get points here. What was kind of like your first impression of like Madden, and then on top of that, just like myself when we ended up meeting in Vegas?
You said, sorry, your mic cut out.
Mm-hmm.
First impression of Madden when?
In that Vegas tournament. So first impression of Madden, because I think that was your first ever like in-person event. And what was also like your first impression of me? Because that was, I think, the first time that we had ever met.
The Madden 19 Classic.
Yeah, Madden 19 Classic.
In Vegas. Yeah, no, I mean that was my first tournament, like playing in person and stuff. It was really cool, like seeing everybody, be able to meet all the Madden players and stuff. And yeah, it was like just my first like kind of experience of playing like in a live setting. So it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely a lot different of an experience, especially to what it is now. The Madden Classic is actually kind of one of, I think it is the concept of it, one of the cooler style of tournaments, because it's really kind of that like old school Madden that, everybody's just in a room playing Madden. Anybody can show up to be able to compete in it. So it really is like anybody can win that type of tournament, which that concept I think is kind of cool. But I do think that like the direction that they ended up going with everything on one mode, I think is a little bit better. I think though, Fancy, and I think this would actually be a super cool idea. Let me know if you think of it like this too. I actually think that Madden should have something like that, like a Madden Classic still, where essentially that you have that, like, let's just say 128 people qualify, something like that, but everybody gets flown out, or you have to find your way to get there. In terms of being able to have that tournament there, as you guys see, Dcroft, who actually had a really good week last week. be able to break out right here and score a touchdown. But I think it'd be super cool if we all flew out there. You know, 128, 256, however you want to do it. And then just from there, you actually just play the live event from there, but it's all on MUT. I think that would actually still be something cool to have that like beginning of year tournament, because I do think that like classic feel was like just a really like cool tournament.
Well, yeah, that's kind of like what we've been missing the last couple of years, just with obviously with COVID and everything. That kind of like live setting,
Mhm.
where you're playing Madden in person around a bunch of people. Um, Definitely the most fun I've had playing Madden is at those type of tournaments. So I'd love to see something like that brought back, especially if there's a way to do it out of like Madden Ultimate Team,
Mhm.
instead of like the like classic regs like team versus team. Um, I think that would be super cool.
Yeah, I agree. And essentially, what like Madden Ultimate Team is in comparison to regs. So whenever we say regs, by the way, because I know this is something I actually always got super confused when first just hearing like Madden terminology. So regs is basically just it's just regular teams. You know, super straightforward. It is just regular teams. Whenever we say something along the lines of that, as ooh, go get him, Al. Oh, Al isn't able to get him. No
Oh
way.
my God, Stafford, what a play!
Staff. Oh
Oh,
no, make a play. I thought you
gonna
were.
get.
I honestly thought Fancy was out of bounds right there. That animation almost never allows a player to turn upfield right there. I honestly thought that was going to be a sack probably 3 different times. That's just an insane play by Stafford. I can't really say a ton else outside of that. But yeah, I agree. I think having something like that would be super nice. And then in terms of like back to the Madden terminology, you know, Regs is just regular team. Madden Ultimate Team is probably viewed amongst competitors and competitive players as the best competitive mode. I'm not exactly like the biggest fan of regular teams, and I think Fancy would agree with this. It's just always unbalanced. You know, Tyreek is always just insanely OP. Mahomes is always insanely good. And I think like a big issue that a lot of the competitors have is, you know, the speed difference between wide receivers and DBs, and it's just like it's just I feel like always just so easy really to play regs and offense.
Yeah, that's kind of how it's always been. Like every year, there's some kind of broken team or broken player where it's just it's
Mm,
it's cool like in simulation football and things like that, but in like in a competitive setting,
mm,
there are some players that kind of create like an unbalanced game or game mode
mm.
to where it's just not completely fit for like a competitive setting. So that's only the one thing about regs.
Oh, DK, get there, DK. Oh,
Ooh.
DK. Yeah, so actually going back, so specifically when we talk about that first tournament Fancy and I went to, that tournament and that year was honestly the year of Tyreek. Tyreek was just insane in that game. Like, you could really. There wasn't really a ton. I think, honestly, you could do two guard Tyreek. Maybe I'm wrong, Fancy, and maybe, you know, looking back on that game, you feel like there was like a simple, easy way that I didn't know about that I should have been doing the entire time. Is wow, I am playing really bad offense right now. Fancy playing great defense right there. But yeah, no, I just think that like in terms of a single player, I think Madden 19 Tyreek Hill is probably one of the most insane regs players that I've ever seen. I think another one that obviously would be in the debate would be Madden 20 Zeke. He had essentially this ability called armbar, which allowed you to essentially like, as you guys see, Djax right there, score a touchdown. But essentially, you guys, that Madden with armbar at the beginning of the year, you could just run over anybody with stiff arms. So I think that would be my personal two of most OP players ever. Let me do a top three. A third most OP player ever. Probably honestly say Mahomes in Madden 20 was really good, but the Chiefs just weren't that good that year. I say, um, yeah, I go Madden 20 Mahomes would probably be like my next like most OP one personally. What would your top
Um,
three be?
I was gonna say you're also figuring about Madden 20 Lamar Jackson with
That
the QB
no,
runs.
that is true. Madden 20 Lamar. Actually, with that being said, I probably actually would put Madden 20 Lamar in over. Madden 20 honestly was the first year of abilities too, so that's where you like Madden 20 there was just so many like OP players and things along the lines of that. But yeah, no, Madden 20 Lamar, he was insane. You could just run around in a circle with him. You really could.
Well, that was the first year they brought in abilities, and I'm pretty sure he had fast break, which would essentially make the defenders not react to a quarterback run, and
Mhm.
then that paired with like Lamar's, like I think he had like 96 speed or something, just made the offense just absolutely insane.
You gotta see DK get past Ramsey. Can't get Ramsey just can't tackle DK. That just doesn't happen. Big play right there. So hopefully there's a chance for us to be able to get back in this game. So around like 6 minutes left in this game. But yeah, no. So Fancy, I want to talk to you a little bit more about like your personal Madden experiences too. You know, what has been kind of your favorite Madden experience that you've had? For me personally, I would honestly say Madden 19 DreamHack at the end of the year. You know, not a big prize pool. It wasn't like a huge tournament by anything, but just in terms of like the experience of it, I definitely would say that's probably like one of the I think like best experiences I've had within money or within Madden. Excuse me.
Uh, in terms of like live settings, like going to actual tournaments and stuff,
Uh-huh.
I would have to agree with that, like Madden 19 DreamHack, because the game honestly at that time was pretty balanced in terms of competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, yeah, that was like the second time I really got to meet everyone after the classic, and it was just a really fun tournament. Honestly, it was kind of a smaller setting than the Madden Classic. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
So would you say that that like event was better than the Madden 20 Classic? So the Madden 20 Classic for that was probably the first tournament I would say that you ever had like a ton of MCS success in. Obviously, like everybody knew how good of a Madden player you were because of the FNF runs that you were making the year before and all that type of stuff. But you know the Madden 20. The Madden 20 was like kind of like the first ever or the Madden 20 Classic was the first tournament that I think like you would say like that was kind of like the tournament you broke out in.
Oh yeah, for sure. Madden 20. The only thing with that tournament, like obviously I did good, but the game itself at that time was not in the best state.
Mm-hmm.
So like I didn't enjoy it as much as like say like Madden 19 DreamHack.
Yeah.
Where like it was also it wasn't like a major tournament, so it was less serious, and I was really like the most important thing about that tournament is that I just enjoyed my time and my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of like enjoyment, definitely take DreamHack, but Madden 20 Classic was definitely the first tournament I kind of made a name for myself
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. And how much would you say, like, a big debate within Madden has always been would you rather have a good format or would you rather have a good game? So would you rather have like a format that's, gonna always guarantee to pay out like a ton of money and always be able to pay out like the best players? Or would you rather have a tournament that, maybe isn't the best format and doesn't have like the most amount of money in it, but it's probably the best Madden you've ever played?
That's actually a tough one because this is really kind of just Madden 21 versus Madden 2020 and 22.
Exactly.
Um, where
Which one would you rather be
honestly,
playing?
like, and it's not like because I had a really good year in 21, but the
Mm-hmm.
format itself, like, if I didn't do good in that clubs tournament, I
Yeah.
really would have had a terrible year. So I mean, at least in Madden 22, like I'm getting the chance to kind of like with the format is the best it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
To where I have all these chances to kind of do good in these tournaments and stuff. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
21, I only had that one chance in clubs
Yeah.
for the most part. So I'd honestly take the format over the game.
And I think a
Um,
great example of that too. So one of our close friends, Jay Wall, who's also in TNC, he essentially was in a position in that tournament, that one tournament that mattered, two times. That if he loses to Books or if he loses to Poison, both like games that he could have really just lost in. We go from talking about probably one of the best Madden seasons ever, in terms of what he did the rest of the year too, to probably just like an average season. And that's the cool thing about this year's format that, J Wall would have had, 4 or 5 different chances to be able to make himself have that name for himself. But at the same time, you do kind of go through this year with this year's Madden, where, I think a lot of us would agree that the gameplay last year was probably a lot better than this year's. You guys should see Cody Barton. We got Bobby Wagner on the field right here. But we would probably all agree that the gameplay was substantially better than what Madden is currently.
100%. Um, I wish if we were playing Madden 21 on this Madden 22 format,
Mm-hmm.
it would be pretty beautiful. But it's just not how it works all the time. So
Ooh, done
gotta
that.
kind of deal with what we have.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with everything that Fancy is saying there. But I do think this is like a very good thing for Madden in terms of they took like a really positive direction with the format and everything this year. I think the only thing I think we would all agree that's kind of lacking from this format is probably just the live event aspect. If we were able to get live events back, that would probably be like the last thing that we'd all really want. Probably like a couple like tweaks here and there that if we were able to get would definitely be ideal, but in terms of like the format and everything, there's not really a ton for us to complain about. So hopefully with a better game and a better Madden, we'll be able to like just have that like that experience of being able, oh, fumble, go get the ball. Oh, I thought we were going to be able to get the ball right there. Difficult field goal here though. Maybe he'll end up missing it. Matt Gay. um but yeah, no, just super excited with how the format and the positive direction that took. Um, and yeah, hopefully as the year goes on, Madden will just continue to get better, and then hopefully by Madden 23 we'll be all playing a fresh new game, and hopefully it is on still the same format.
Yeah, no, the format is pretty much as good as it can get this year. Other than really the first tournament being less points than the other ones.
Yeah, that's probably the
That's
only
like that was
difference.
my only complaint about this year.
Mhm.
Uh, Other than that, the format is very, very good.
Yeah, I think like even when you look towards like the ladder system and everything too, this is the best the ladder system has been. Except probably the one little tweak I would say is probably just not have it be on Sunday. I think having it be on Sunday during NFL, I think a lot of people just weren't exactly the biggest fans of that for sure. And I think just having, I think like it, I ideally would think like Friday and Thursday for the ladders like later on in the day would be a little bit better. But as I said, it's all like so nitpicky like what we're debating here right now. And I just think that like there isn't really a ton like to complain about like this year's format. Guys, see
Ooh.
Gerald Everett right there. It's an uphill battle for us right here. We did throw that red zone. If we didn't throw that red zone pick before half, I'd say we have a little bit of a chance right here. Being down 3 scores, it is going to be very difficult for us to come back in this one, though. See if we are able to make a play here with Russ. I think Ramsey was going to be able to catch up right there and be able to knock that one out. Would there be anything else that you would like think off the top of your head about the format that you could see potentially changing for this upcoming year?
Um, Honestly, I think like they have like the blueprint like pretty much. Oh, there's DK.
DK, make a play. DK. All
Two
right.
big touchdowns.
If we can get an onside kick here, there's life. We did get an onside kick actually earlier in the year, but it did get negated by a penalty. And this actually past weekend, there were 4 for 4 on onside kick. So hopefully we are able to get one here in Madden now. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Fancy. Would there be like anything about this year's format that anything else? Oh my goodness, we actually had a chance there too. Oh, we had a chance to get the onside kick right there. But yeah, would there be anything else like you could think of in terms of the format?
Other than because they have really the kind of the blueprint that everyone really wanted which was like 3 MUT tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Hopefully double elimination in all of them next year. And really, I think what they should do is just make all 3 tournaments be the same amount of points
Mm-hmm.
because what kind of happened is a lot of the people that did really good in the first tournament, which was weighted like a lot less points,
Mm-hmm.
kind of hurt them later in the year to where they weren't getting as many points as other people getting the same finishes in later tournaments,
Mm-hmm.
where it was they just kind of had less points because the first one was a lot less weighted.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully they kind of balance that out next year.
Yeah, I actually have one more question for you about the format before this game ends up finishing here. Fancy will be essentially able to run this one out now. Would you change the length of the season? What do you think of the length of the season? Now, it is going to be interesting here. I think within 2 months when competitive Madden is over, and this is going to be the first time that competitive Madden really is over in like February, right when the Super Bowl does end. What do you think about that in terms of the format?
I honestly think it's a great idea,
Hmm.
because I don't know if everybody plays Mutt Ultimate Team. At a certain point in the year, when it gets really late, like February, March, April, they start
Hmm.
releasing a lot of these really overpowered cards that get all 99 stats and all
Hmm.
these crazy ability combos and things you can do, to where it kind of makes it a little bit unbalanced in a competitive Madden, to
Hmm.
where with the season this year ending in February, before all those cards come out, I actually enjoy it a lot. Plus, on top of that, with the MCS season ending in February, there's a lot of room after that for these kind of smaller tournaments
Hmm.
where like Mutthead and Pittsburgh Knights and things like that, where they're running these small tournaments after the season, which I actually enjoy a lot.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I do think that having one still like wouldn't say like I do think the final tournament should be in like February, and I think that should be the tournament that ends up like crowning the best Madden player. But I do think there should still be like one guaranteed more thing after that, whether it be like still on MUT, whether it be like a different mode as a whole, just like one larger tournament, like doesn't have to be like extremely large, like just like $100,000 prize pool, just something to keep the exposure for competitive Madden. I think that would be the most ideal thing. But with that being said, Fancy, we always end these with score predictions. So, what is your score prediction for the Rams and Seahawks this weekend?
I'm gonna go with the Rams. I know the
Mm-hmm.
Seahawks are definitely underdogs, but I think it is a divisional game. They kept it close last time, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it'll be close again. I'll probably say Rams 27-20.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it'll be close. I think the Seahawks will put up a fight for sure.
I'm gonna go on a bit of a different route. I'm actually not gonna leave a score prediction. I'm just gonna say whoever has the ball last is gonna end up winning this game. I think you look at two very good offenses. I think whatever quarterback has the ball last is going to be the team that ends up winning this game. I think the Rams are kind of having a COVID issue right now. They had a lot of players that weren't able to play Monday night. Not really sure where they're gonna be at in terms of being able to play for this upcoming week, but it'll be interesting, seeing if Jalen Ramsey, I think, is like the big name, if he'll be able to play for this upcoming week. But for me, my prediction, whoever has the ball last will be the team that ends up winning the game. But with that being said, I appreciate you coming on, Fancy. I appreciate everybody for tuning in to these. If you do like them, make sure to like and subscribe. I will see you guys all next time.